Okay, we are live. Hello, YouTube. This is MMA Normie, and I'm coming to you today. This is Sunday morning, actually, for a post-fight analysis of UFC 266, Volkanovski versus Ortega. So, let's get down to business. Before we go down to business, though, let me first mention some token of appreciation. First of all, to my cousin. This is his setup. He lent me this for this live streaming and podcast. So thanks to him, I'm here. I'm doing this. I will pin his channel in the comments later on. Check his channel out. We are going to revamp his channel as well. We are going to post a lot of production related and music related videos on his channel, and it will be production work from a blind man's perspective. So I'm sure there are not enough videos available from blind producers perspective, blind music producers perspective in YouTube. So we are going to be doing that a lot in his channel. I'll pin his channel in the comments, and I would like to say thanks to one Flying Brian J, who actually inspired me to do this. We talked on Twitter, and he said, go for it. I went for it. I was actually a fan of his post-fight show, and I asked him if he's going to do that ever again, and he said he kind of moved on from that. And so I thought, you know what? As a homage to his work, I'll start off MMA channel myself. And he gave me his blessing. He kind of gave me some advices, and I'm following it. Brian, I hope you watch the video and give me some advice and comments. And let's get down to it. Let's get down to UFC 266, Volkanovski versus Ortega. So, first of all, I'm just going to break the flow of the main card by starting off with the Nick Diaz fight. I know it's not in chronological order, but I'm going to talk about the Nick Diaz fight first, because you know what? The main reason we tuned into UFC 266 is because of Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler, a rematch 17 years in the making. As we all know, 17 years ago, Nick Diaz knocked out Robbie Lawler with a slick left hook that kind of sent waves around the MMA community. I wasn't even an MMA fan back then. I didn't even know this fight existed. I came to know about it later on. The first time I actually came to know about Nick Diaz was when he was having an incredible run in Strikeforce, now defunct Strikeforce. So it's fun. It's fun getting to see Nick Diaz back in the cage again. And he has been away for 6 years. So honestly, my expectations were a little bit tapered in terms of what he can bring to the cage, because he has been away for so long. Robbie Lawler, on the other hand, in the meantime, actually, he became the world champion while Nick Diaz was away. He defended his world title in world-class fights that will live through the test of times, and he just had some incredible fights as a champion. And now he's also getting very older. Nick Diaz is also older, so it's two old men trying to rekindle and glory old days, I suppose. And I was here for it. I was really excited for it. Robbie Lawler seemed really fired up during the pre-fights. Nick Diaz was, Nick Diaz. He's always something else. Either way, I think the first round of the fight was super exciting, and I don't know if people noticed it or not. For me, this might have just been the round of the year. The first round of Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler was everything we expected. Nick Diaz started going to the body early on. He really dug with his hooks, and I think he was southpaw. He dug with his right hand hooks, his lead hand. He did real great body work in the first round. And Robbie Lawler was, from the moment go on Nick Diaz. Usually it's Nick Diaz who backs his opponents up, who peppers them with punches over punches to the body, to the head. He keeps changing angles. He's awesome. He's awesome. But today we saw that Robbie Lawler was not letting him off. He was backing Nick Diaz up constantly. And early on, he was trying to headhunt a bit more. Nick Diaz was really, really digging in the shots. He was landing good shots. I felt like Nick got a little older watching him fight. It feels like Nick kind of lost some of the pop in his punches, which is sad. Nick Diaz is a legend. You love to see him fight, and he has always been an action fighter his whole life. Even during his heyday, during his incredible run, he would always get into these firefights. He always does that. And Robbie Lawler is exactly the same. He gets into firefights. We remember Robbie Lawler's title reign. We remember all those fights. All of them were firefights. So it was just expected that both these guys would go after each other, and they did. Robbie at first started landing to the head more. Nick was defensively responsible, but he wasn't moving a lot. At least he looked a little bit foot slow to me. Robbie was bouncing around. Robbie was fast. His head movement was good. He was moving his head a lot. I think that really helped him a lot from getting a lot of damages, accumulating a lot of damages because he was moving his head and shots were partially landing on him. He was partially defending it. He was responsible. Robbie was responsible. And then in the second round, Robbie really upped his pressure, which was surprising to me. I thought Nick would up his pressure, but it was the opposite. Robbie was starting to land on Nick's body for a change. He started to land some kicks on Nick's body. He started to land some hooks. Nick was still landing great shots up top and to the body. But you know what? Robbie was really, really pressuring him. I wasn't expecting that. I was kind of expecting that, but not to the level that Robbie did. It was surprising. Robbie looked really, really great. And as the fight went on, I noticed in one of the combinations, Robbie hurt Nick to the body, not to the head, to the body. And you can see even through Nick's poker face, like he got hurt. But he fought, he kept fighting, and he landed some good shots. But during the third round, I think it was, and Robbie landed a nice hook on Nick that dropped him. And you can see just Nick didn't want to be there anymore. He's old now. He's getting older. He has been away from the cage for 6-7 years. You can see he just didn't want to be there anymore. It wasn't like he was badly hurt. He just didn't want to be there, and he didn't answer the referee's call. He just waved it off. It was kind of a disappointing end, but as long as the fight lasted, it was so much fun. Robbie's footwork was on point, and I think I didn't mention this so far. Robbie was eating Nick up with leg kicks. Like, he wasn't letting Nick go. He was landing so many leg kicks. It paid dividends. It really paid dividends. And Robbie Lawler looked like a world beater tonight. It was awesome. And I'm happy for both Nick and Robbie. I think we enjoyed Nick Diaz today. And I think Nick reminded all of us why we love him. Even though he lost, he is always in these firefights. He is an action star through and through. And as long as the fight lasted, it was great. And it didn't have any title shot implications. It didn't have any ranking implications. So, overall, it was a good fight. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And I don't know what's in it for Nick Diaz in the future. I don't know if he's going to come back and fight. I don't necessarily think Robbie will retire, even though he might. I don't know. But they had a great fight. let's see what happens. And I'm sure Robbie is looking for just fun fights now. From now on, he's also getting a little older. So, Nick Diaz style legend versus legend fights. He might be interested in something like that. And finally, Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz, they both went 1-1 against each other. It was nice to see. The fight was awesome. So let's now go down in chronological order. Now that we are done talking about Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler, let's talk about the fight of the night for me. Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian T-City Ortega. Now, what do I want to say about this fight? I mean, I have so much to say. First of all, when the fight got announced, my hunch was that Volkanovski will be the switch hitter and Brian Ortega might approach from the orthodox position the whole fight. But that's not what happened. Brian Ortega was switching stances as well. In fact, I thought at first Brian Ortega was switching stance more than Volkanovski did. And I do not presume to know the ins and outs of entirety of Volkanovski's game. Actually, I don't understand a lot of it. Even during today, I will admit for the first time in my life, I saw a UFC card without commentary on. And the reason for that is simple, because I did not bring in any biases into this post-fight show. So I kind of turned off my audio and watched it totally mute. It wasn't, I don't know, weird feeling. I have not seen fights like that before. But I think it helped me see a lot of shots as well. A lot of what's happening in the cage, I was focusing on it. I think it helped me in that direction. Either way, I did not understand a lot of the setups that Volkanovski was doing. But when it landed, I was like, oh, how did he do that? In the first round, if you go back, you can see that Volkanovski was just short of landing his shots. He was not landing them. He was not in range. He did not have a great command on his range at first. But as the rounds moved on, from each successive rounds, you can see Volkanovski was reading his distance. Volkanovski was getting a read on Brian Ortega's shots, and he was landing. He was landing very well. And on the other hand, Brian Ortega was landing a lot too, and from the beginning as well. In fact, the first round, when I saw it mute, I could not make heads and tails of who won that round. I'll tell you how I scored the round. Let me look up my notes here. I actually wrote it down so that I don't forget. Yeah, I actually scored the fight. First round, I actually gave both of them a 10-10 because I really could not decide who won that round. They both looked very effective. I'll talk about a little more of that now. Let's just go through the round scoring first. Then I gave the second round 10-9 for Volkanovski. I gave the third round 10-9 to Ortega. As you might remember, Ortega kind of got beat up in that round, but I still gave that round to Ortega. I'll talk about why. Then the fourth round, I gave it 10-8 to Volkanovski. It was just obvious for me, maybe for others too. And the fifth round, I actually gave it 10-9 to Ortega. And in totality, I came up with a 48-47 card for Volkanovski. I will discuss each round in details now, but I must preface by saying I was confused to see the result as 50-44 from two judges and a 49-46 from one judge. I was it was 50-44 performance. Brian Ortega put his licks in. He really did. And the 50-44 was a little bit difficult for me to justify. My scorecard came out to be 48-47 in favor of Volkanovski, but it wasn't exactly like Volkanovski won 3 rounds and Brian Ortega won 2. It was a little bit dicey. And that's how this fight was. So talking about the first round, like I said, I could not make heads and tails of which one of them won. I thought both of them were effective. Volkanovski in the beginning was coming up short with his kicks and with his punches, but he started to find the range. He landed some good punches. Brian Ortega was landing good shots from the beginning. He was landing good punches. He was landing some kicks. He was good. He was good in the first round. I thought it was a very competitive round. That's why I could not decide who won, who lost. I gave both of them the first round, straight up. And then moving on to the second round, I thought Volkanovski finally found his range in that round. He was taking over the fight. As you can see, he was putting on the pressure. He was throwing a lot of feints. And I think that's the biggest secret about Volkanovski's fight. It's not just that he throws good feints and tries to read his opponent's reactions. He throws his feints and he does some footwork. Maybe if I go back in UFC Fight Pass and slow the fight down, I'll figure it out. But I think he has some deceptive footwork, because there were moments in that fight where I was confused. How did Volkanovski got into that range and when did he do it? And he did it off of his feints clearly, but it's footwork with feints that is making him do this. I like I said, I do not presume to understand the whole breadth of Volkanovski's game. It's a mystery. It's confusing, and it deserves a huge amount of study. Like, Volkanovski is really, really confusing. I don't understand this guy. On the other hand, Brian TCT Ortega, he had good boxing. He had a solid stance. He was switching stances. He was landing leg kicks. He was good. And he landed some good shots on Volkanovski in the second round as well. But I thought Volkanovski took over that round. He won that round. I'll give the round to him. Then comes the third round. Now, who won that round? That's the biggest question, because both of them were so effective in that round. Maybe some people on the internet are arguing Volkanovski won that round 10-8. Maybe some people are arguing he probably lost that round 10-9. I don't know. I gave that round 10-9 to Brian TCT Ortega. I did not give that round at 10-8 to Volkanovski, and I'll talk about the reasons now. So first of all, as the MMA scoring criteria goes, they score effective striking and effective grappling at the same level. So if you're doing effective striking or you're doing effective grappling, you should be awarded equally for it. So if we go by that notion, then if you guys remember the third round, Brian Ortega caught one of Volkanovski's kicks and landed a nice left straight, or was it a right straight? I don't remember. It was either a left straight or a right straight, and it knocked Volkanovski down on the mat. And Brian Ortega immediately jumped a guillotine, and I thought the fight was over. I was literally screaming at my screen, "It's over! It's over!" And you can see Volkanovski, he was struggling. He was jumping up and down. He was struggling. I thought he went out for a moment. When he wasn't moving anymore, I thought he went out. I thought Brian Ortega had him. I thought he won. And then later I find out he actually got out of that submission. I don't think it was really a technical, reversal of Brian Ortega's submission. I think it was just willpower. Volkanovski has insane willpower. Most people would have tapped. I expect almost everybody to tap. The only guy that did not tap was probably Volkanovski. That's all. It was insane. And props to Volkanovski for toughing it out. And as soon as he toughed it out, he reversed the position. He started landing some ground and pound. And wouldn't you know it, Brian TCT Ortega, staying true to his nickname, T-City, landed a clean triangle choke on Volkanovski from bottom position. It is not easy to do in MMA. Anyone that fights MMA, trains MMA will tell you locking up submissions from bottom is not an easy thing in MMA. You want to be on top. Being on bottom is a disadvantage. And Brian TCT Ortega from the bottom had a tight triangle choke on Volkanovski. You can see Volkanovski was again struggling. He even went down to the mat to relieve some pressures, then reversed the position. He was struggling. I thought he went out again. I thought he was going to for sure tap this time because it was too tight, and he again toughed it out. It wasn't really technical. It was just Volkanovski was tough. He wouldn't give up, and he finally got out. And then he started landing some ground and pound. And when the round ended, I was really, really conflicted who to give this round to, because Volkanovski did real damage in that fight, real damage in that round. But Brian Ortega, man, he tasted that victory. He was almost there. He nearly did it. He nearly did it, and it just the moment slipped away from him. It was unbelievable. The whole round was unbelievable, and I decided I will give Brian Ortega the round because I thought the guillotine was 100% locked in. Volkanovski is a tough man. That's how he got out of this. And I thought the triangle choke was 100% locked in, fully locked in. The fact that Volkanovski survived this, that surprised me actually. Now then, going next to the fourth round, I thought Brian Ortega was a little bit badly beat up. I almost thought referee was going to wave off the fight in between rounds. Referee didn't. Brian Ortega answered the bell. I thought he might not be that effective, and wouldn't you know it, he again tried to lock in another choke on Volkanovski. I thought this one was for sure done because this one looked tight too. This one looked very tight. And it's Brian T.C.T. Ortega. We know his jiu-jitsu is just levels above almost everybody in the division. Well, then there's also Ryan Hall in that very division too, but never mind. Volkanovski was in trouble from Brian Ortega, that's for sure. And again, he toughed it out. Brian Ortega tried to convert it into a guillotine, but Volkanovski got out, reversed the position, got top position, but this time he landed so much ground and pound. It was too much damage. I don't even understand how Brian Ortega was alive after this. I mean, he took some serious damage, some life-altering damage, and he still kept fighting. But the damage was clear in this round. That's why I gave the fourth round to Volkanovski at 10-8. It was just brutal. So brutal. And then moving on to the fifth round, I think that's when Volkanovski finally slowed down because he set a very high pace for the entire fight. I think he finally slowed down, and the fact that Brian Ortega actually rebounded from taking such a pounding and landed such nice crisp right hands on Volkanovski in the last round, he kind of made that round competitive, and he clearly won the fifth round in my eyes. Even though people did not give him that round, and by people I mean judges, which is weird. Never mind. Brian Ortega lost the fight for sure, but he was such a tough guy. Anybody else would have been knocked out. He took so much damage, and he came back and still won the fifth round. It was surprising. It was a great fight, probably the fight of the year. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And congratulations to Volkanovski for retaining his featherweight title belt. Commiserations to Brian Ortega. I'm sure he'll come back. I'm sure he'll be better. He's young. He has time. And he's one hell of a fighter. He kept fighting. So, moving on from the main event to the co-main event. Oh, man. Valentina Shevchenko versus Lauren Murphy. Now, what do I have to say about this fight? Valentina is just Valentina. She is leagues above all of her peers, and it seems like no one can solve the puzzle of Valentina Shevchenko in 125 pounds. No one. Lauren Murphy was well-rounded. Lauren Murphy won last 5 of her fights. She earned the right to be the challenger for this title. She came in and she looked lost. Uh, Valentina kept favoring a nice 1-2 and a leg kick, or sometimes a 2-3 and a leg kick. She was favoring that and she was landing it over and over. And Lauren Murphy did not really have an answer for that. She was throwing some Superman punches, Superwoman punches, whatever. I don't know if they landed clean or not, but her left hand was landing clean. She was hurting Lauren Murphy with it, and her check hook. Every time Lauren Murphy would come in and try to close the distance, Valentina was landing the check hook on her every time, clean. And Lauren Murphy did not have an answer for it. And then there's the grappling. Valentina Shevchenko does really nice grappling from the body lock position. I think all of her opponents who have seen her, who have studied her tapes, should really, really work on their Greco-Roman wrestling, because Valentina clearly favors takedown from the body lock position, and once she gets the body lock position, she trips her opponent in a manner that it lands her in side control immediately from the takedown. And Lauren Murphy was able to recover half guard from it after getting taken down a couple of times. So that's good, but she didn't really do anything with it. She wasn't able to do anything with it. Valentina put the shoulder pressure on her the whole time, and just she didn't let her off. She was landing her shots. At times, she took her time to manage her position and then land her shots. And in the fourth round, she landed a clean check hook on Lauren Murphy that rocked her. Then she just pounded on her, took her down, landed some elbows, and referee had seen enough at that point. Valentina Shevchenko is your 6 times defending world champion now. She's insane. Her skill set is insane. And I think the only fight that is left for Valentina to fight is the Amanda Nunes trilogy. Even though she lost the first 2 fights to Amanda, I think we all remember when Valentina and Amanda first faced off against each other, none of them were champion. And Amanda won the first 2 rounds of that fight. It was a 3-round fight. And in the 3rd round, Valentina put a massive beating on Amanda. In fact, people were talking about how if that fight had gone on for another round, Amanda Nunes would have been knocked out, because Valentina put on so much damage on her in the 3rd round. So that fight, even though Amanda clearly won, people were like, Valentina can beat this girl. So later on, Amanda becomes the world champion at the 135 divisions, and she faces Valentina for the belt. And wouldn't you know it, except for 2 judges that night, you ask everyone else in this planet, they just agree Valentina Shevchenko actually won that fight. But it was a split decision loss for her, because 2 judges gave the fight to Amanda Nunes, 1 just gave it to Valentina, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what others say. But you ask anybody, most people would agree Valentina actually won that fight. And I don't really care much about that fight, because it was actually a boring fight. It's not the kind of fight you go back and watch again. It was a bit boring. So I think that tempers people's appetite for that fight. But now that they are both world champions in 2 different divisions, Valentina in 125 pounds, Amanda in 135 pounds, they have not lost fights in so long. It's been ages since either Amanda or Valentina lost a fight. It's obvious that we need to make the 3rd fight now. We need to make it, to figure out who the best woman fighter in this planet is, because it's either Amanda Nunes or it's Valentina Shevchenko. And both of them are insane. They have to clash again. That's the only fight left for Valentina to fight. And I actually favor Valentina to win again. Even though her record says she lost both the 2 fights that against Amanda, but third time, I think she gets it done. I think she does. And we already talked about the Nick Diaz fight, so I'm not going to rehash it again. I enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for old man fight, I guess. Now moving on from that to the the heavyweight fight. Curtis Blades versus Jinho Rosenstruck. Man, his name is tough. Never mind. So what about this fight? This was a very forgettable fight. Curtis Blades leaned on his wrestling, which is his X factor, and took Jinho down in each round. Actually, in each round he managed to get a takedown, and Jinho Rosenstruck had a really good left hook. If you notice that fight, he was timing that left hook very well. I think he was landing it very well at times. He hurt Curtis Blades with a flying knee. Almost shut his eyes down. It was almost swollen shut. So, he landed some damage, that's for sure. But every time you can see Curtis Blades was in trouble, he managed to get a takedown and hold Rosenstruck down on the mat. Even though in the first round Rosenstruck actually eventually got up, but in the second and third you can see Curtis Blades managed to keep Rosenstruck down and land some ground and pound. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't impressive, but he did it the hard way. He grinded it out. He won the decision. And I think it was in the second round. There was a nice sequence where Curtis Blades from orthodox position landed a nice right hand, and off of that right hand he switched to southpaw and landed a nice left hand afterwards. I thought that was really impressive, and Curtis Blades did some stance switching throughout the fight. He did manage to land some good shots, but I thought Rosenstruck had a really good left hook. He timed it well, but Rosenstruck, man, that guy needs to up his activity. He is so inactive. He needs to up his activity, and I don't know what future brings for Curtis Blades, because he has already been knocked out twice by the current reigning champion. So if Cyril Gane beats Ngannou by some miracle, even though it wouldn't really be a miracle, it's absolutely possible. Cyril Gane is extremely, extremely talented, but Ngannou has bombs, nuclear bombs. We'll see what happens. If Ngannou retains that title, I don't see a path to world title fight for Curtis Blades in near future. But if Cyril Gane wins, that might work in Blades' favor. But I don't think the UFC brass likes Curtis Blades' style very much. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. And then moving on to the first fight of the main card, which is the last fight that I'm going to talk about right now. It was a fun fight. It is Jessica Andraj versus Cynthia Calvillo. Is it Calvillo? I don't know. Either way, it was just a one-round fight. What do I have to say about this? Jessica Andraj, oh my god. She is a powerhouse, and we all know that. I saw at the beginning of the fight, Cynthia Calvillo land really good shots. I thought Cynthia was landing good shots on Andraj, and she managed to land some good combinations on her. But Andraj, man, oh man, she just ate those shots and she kept coming forward. She just keeps coming forward like a zombie. I don't know how she does it, but she does it. Then she started to walk in on the inside and started landing her hooks, started landing her straights, mostly hooks. She lands a lot of hooks. And you can see Cynthia was uncomfortable. She was moving away well. She was hand fighting well. She was putting up a good guard for a while, but then clean shots started landing, and before you know it, Cynthia kind of gave up. She was hurt. She covered up. She did not fire back, and Andraj just kept landing on her, kept landing, and referee had to call it. So Jessica Andraj, technical knockout, victory for her, and it's so weird to think how dominant Jessica Andraj is against just about everybody, and then to see Jessica Andraj just 2 fights ago against Valentina Shevchenko, and Shevchenko ragdolled her like she's nothing. And that's usually Jessica Andraj's game plan. She treats everyone like they're nothing, and yet Valentina Shevchenko just schooled her just 2 fights ago, which goes to show you how high level Valentina really is. Jessica Andraj, former world champion, she is insanely tough, insanely durable, and she hits so hard. My God, it was fun. I thought the main card was great. I have not checked out any fights from the prelims. I have not checked out even their results. I think the fights will be available in UFC Fight Pass tonight. I don't really get to see them live here in our region. I only get to see the main card live, so we are here talking about the main card only. I thought, I think Dvalishvili and Marlon Moraes were supposed to fight, and then Dan Hooker versus Hakbarast, obviously. I will go back and watch those 2 fights, and I'll see how I like it. If I do like it, I might later on come back and make a video about those 2 fights, see how it goes. I don't know when UFC is going to upload it on UFC Fight Pass. Until then, I'm going to stay away from any links that talk about the results of the fight. I don't want to know. I hope Dan Hooker won though. He probably did lose this one. He had a lot of trouble. But I hope he did win. I don't know. We will find out. But if I do like those fights, I will talk about those 2 prelim fights. So these are my thoughts on the main card of UFC 266. I enjoyed it. I loved watching Nick back. The end was a little bit disappointing, but it's Nick. It was fun. And as long as the fight lasted, it was really fun. I thought the first round was probably the round of the year, maybe. I don't know. That first round was so fun. Watching Nick back was fun. I don't know if he wants to fight again or if he wants to hang his gloves up, but as long as it lasted, Nick Diaz is fun. Robbie Lawler, likewise, he's super fun. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the title fights. Volkanovski, I think he earned his respect now. He was insane. Tonight he looked great, and I don't know. I'm really hoping for a trilogy between him and Max. I thought Max won the second fight between Volkanovski and Max, but the judges didn't give it to him. So let's see what happens in the third fight. I hope Volkanovski versus Max 3 is in the near future, because that's what I want to see. And the way Volkanovski fought tonight, it just showed you Volkanovski and Max, those 2 guys are leagues above everyone in the featherweight division, even though everyone else is so much talented in that division. Those 2 guys are insane. I enjoyed it. Brian TCT Ortega, tough as nails, probably the toughest man alive. The way he ate shots, still kept coming back. He was insane. Co-main event, it was just a total domination. Overall, fun fight card. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. This is MMA Normie signing off. Thank you.